everyone, and welcome back to my true crime channel. Today I'm going to be discussing the very strange case of Peter Falconio. Now, I'm going to be doing a separate video on the entire case of the supposed murder of Peter Falconio, and that's going to be on my channel very soon. But today I just want to go through a quick analysis of my thoughts and views of who actually might be guilty of the murder and whether it really was a murder. Now, a lot of you already might be aware of the case of Peter Falconio. He was apparently murdered in Australia in 2001 by a man who's currently serving a life sentence in prison in Australia for the murder, and the man that was arrested's name is Bradley Murdoch. Now, the reason for my video today is because I've been looking into this case a lot lately. I vividly remember it happening 20 years ago in 2001, and I remember thinking the moment I saw Joanne Lees on the telly, who was Peter Falconio's girlfriend of at least 5 years, I thought she was extremely suspicious. Now, I'm hoping to do another video on Joanne Lees, doing a body language and statement analysis of some of her police and media interviews, because I detect deception every time I hear the woman speak, and I don't buy her version of events of what happened on the 14th of July 2001.
Driving in the remote Australian outback, she and her boyfriend were attacked by a gunman. Joanne escaped, but her boyfriend, Peter Falconio, has not been seen since. What happened to him remains a mystery. The only account of what happened that night is that given to police by Joanne herself. And in the only interview she's ever given, Joanne Lees spoke to Martin Bashir. The Australian outback, desolate, mysterious, and the setting for a terrifying story. Joanne Lees met Peter Falconio 6 years ago at a nightclub in their hometown of Huddersfield. In November 2000, they put their careers on hold and set off on a round-the-world trip. Just over a year ago, they bought a camper van in Sydney and set out on a long journey through the Australian outback. 14th of July, Joanne Lees and Peter Falconio packed their camper van here at Alice Springs and prepared for the most arduous leg of their Australian journey. This would be the last major town for over 1,000 miles as they headed north towards Darwin. And they would make this journey in almost total isolation. They had just each other and their trusted camper van. Been travelling together now at this point for something like 8 months. How would you describe your relationship at this point?
Our relationship, I'd describe it stronger than ever. We just got each other.
Had you ever spent so much time alone with Peter? Because you were travelling, you were sleeping, you were eating, you were living together. Had you ever spent so much time with Peter before then?
Probably not, no. This is what I was looking forward to the most, though, spending every minute with each other.
Some people might feel perhaps claustrophobic, you know, if they were thrown together with someone all day and all night. Did you ever feel that?
No. Even though we were travelling together, living and sleeping together, we still took time out to do our own thing.
It was suggested in a newspaper, I think, that you'd had a blazing row in Alice Springs. Was there any truth in that?
No, none whatsoever.
Now, Joanne Lees claims that on a day driving through Australia with her partner, Peter Falconio, on the 14th of July 2001, they were flagged down by another driver who said that there was something wrong with their camper van. I believe it was that the lights were out or there was something wrong with the exhaust, something along them lines. She claims she then sat in the driver's seat in case the engine needed to be revved because there was potential issues. Peter got out and went to speak to the man that had flagged them down. The next thing she knows, there is a supposed gunshot or the sound of a gunshot. She then thinks Peter's been murdered. The guy comes back to the van. I'm not quite sure if he moves her to another vehicle. It's all a bit of a sketchy story and it doesn't really all sound very believable, but he then cable ties her, goes back out of the vehicle to deal with Peter's body, and in amongst that time she manages to flee the van that she's being held in and runs off into the bush. Now the man and his dog apparently follow into the bush, but they don't see where Joanna's gone. She's hiding in a bush within the bush, if that makes sense. Within bushes, within the outback in the bush. And she hides there for a number of hours. The man does come past her with a torch, shines it in the trees above her head. The dog goes past. Luckily, she's not detected, so she says. So, like I said, for a number of hours, make sure that the guy that supposedly killed her boyfriend and tried to attack her is long gone. She then flees back onto the road, out of the bush and back onto the road, and flags down another lorry. Now, considering what had happened with the person flagging her down in the car, supposedly attempting to attack her and killing her boyfriend, I find that strange that she'd flag someone down. But I do appreciate, in times of panic and shock, you would just want someone to help you. So just because you flag down a lorry with another man in it doesn't mean that that man's going to attack you. So there is that point. So anyway, she's then taken by the man. I think there's 2 men in this lorry and they take her off to safety. Now, the only evidence they had to convict Bradley Murdoch of the crime was a small bit of his DNA, and it was a very small bit found on Joanne Lees's t-shirt. Now, I've now found out, after doing much research, that she came in contact with that man at least twice before the day he supposedly flagged down the camper van, killed Peter, and tried to attack her. They came across each other in 2 different establishments, and at least one of them, it was caught on CCTV. Now, could Bradley have passed Joanne in one of these cafes or places along the road that they stopped for a pit stop, a break, to have a snack, go to the toilet, that sort of thing? Could he have brushed past her and that's how his DNA got on her, and that he was never involved in the murder? Does make me wonder. I also know that it didn't come out much at the time 20 years ago because she tried to keep it under wraps, that Joanne Lees had actually cheated on Peter Falconio whilst on their travels in Australia. I do believe they'd been out there a number of months, but that still doesn't excuse cheating on your partner while you're on holiday or anywhere. So that's really awful. And a lot of people that have been interested in this case, the most reason that they're interested in it is a very cold body language and just lack of empathy or sympathy or any emotion that Peter was dead or supposedly dead. Now, there are a few different theories out there as to what could have happened if it wasn't Murdoch that did the murder. Could Joanne have had him killed? Could she have killed him? Could she have hired a hitman to kill him? Now, all of these are quite plausible in my opinion due to her lack of emotion and the fact that whenever I've seen her in any interviews, I detect that she's lying. I mean, she really isn't telling the truth the majority of the time, very defensive, and just a very strange character, considering she should be upset that her boyfriend of 5 years is missing, presumed murdered. The fact she'd had the affair, the fact that I don't think their relationship was going as well as it could have been, and perhaps the holiday to Australia was a make or break to see whether they were going to stay together. She was clearly having her head turned by other men and perhaps wasn't as happy in the relationship as maybe Peter was. I don't know. It's just my theory, so please don't have a go at me. I'm just putting my theories out there, but I do believe she could have ordered for him to be killed, or perhaps she did the murder herself and Murdoch had nothing to do with it. She'd seen him in a cafe and perhaps from that used him to get herself well out of this situation. There's another theory out there that Peter Falconio faked his own death. Now, I do buy into this theory as well. It's completely plausible that he could have gone out there for a good few months, 6, 7 months, and then decided either before getting there or once there that he was going to fake his own death. He was quite a prankster and a joker, according to friends. He had been involved in a number of small sort of level scams in his years, in his life. So could it be that he decided to fake his own death? Apparently, in the lead up to going to Australia, he had spoken to a friend in the UK and told them that he'd just got life insurance. Now, he could have got life insurance because he was going on a holiday of a lifetime to the other side of the world, to Australia, a country he'd never been before. Maybe that was why he got the life insurance. But could it be that he faked his own death to claim the life insurance? Or could it be that Joanne Lees killed him and thought that she could claim the life insurance? Now, I'm not sure that's a viable theory. as they weren't married, I'm not sure if she would have been entitled to any life insurance, as I think that would have gone to Peter Falconio's family. But something about this story definitely stinks. So anyway, guys, this is just a quick video about Peter Falconio's death. I'm going to cover the case in more detail in another video that I hope to get out on the channel soon. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you believe that Murdoch carried out the murder? Or has an innocent man been in prison for, you know, well over 15, 16, 17 years? By the time the case come to court in Australia, it did take a few years to get him in prison. So has he been festering in prison for all these years and he's innocent? If so, that's disgusting. Joanne Lees, is she guilty? Have you ever felt that she's a bit shady and a bit dodgy after seeing her do the TV interviews? I do appreciate this is a 20-year-old case, and I also appreciate that it's a solved case, but in my opinion, is it really solved? Or did the police just go for the most viable option with getting Murdoch to go down for the murder? It's one of the most famous cases in Australia, from what I can gather. Because it was a British backpacker, it's obviously very famous, or backpackers, sorry, obviously very famous here in the UK. And it's still a story that people are interested in 20 years later. Now, I think the reason for the interest 20 years later is Joanne Lees. She's such a strange character. A bit like the McCann parents, Madeleine McCann's parents. The first time I saw them on telly, I thought, oh, red flag. They're definitely guilty of something. Again, these are just my opinions, so I'm just sharing them with you. Whether or not you agree, I'd love to know your thoughts. So anyway, guys, I'll be back very soon, most likely with a full video on Peter Falconio case, on the death or supposed death of Peter Falconio. I'm going to have some other content on the channel soon. I hope you're all enjoying it. Thank you very much to all my new subscribers. I really appreciate your support, and I've been enjoying reading all your comments and interacting with you all. Anyway, I hope you're all having a great day. The sun's shining here in Cambridgeshire in the United Kingdom, and I'm really looking forward to going and sitting in my garden. Anyway, guys, I'll be back soon. Take care and stay safe. Bye-bye for now.